Welcome back, everyone. In today's video, we're going to talk about something that can truly transform your life: learning to stay calm and composed in the face of life's most intense and unpredictable moments. We all experience those moments of stress, anxiety, or frustration. It feels like our emotions take over, and sometimes it seems like we have no control over them. But what if I told you there's a way to not only manage those emotions but to achieve a state of peace, no matter the situation? This is where Buddhism comes in. Buddhism is all about finding inner peace and understanding how to manage our emotions in a healthy way. The teachings of the Buddha emphasize the importance of mindfulness and awareness in every moment of our lives. Through these practices, we can become more attuned to our emotional states, recognizing the rise of negative feelings before they have a chance to take control. At the core of Buddhist teachings is the concept of equanimity, which refers to mental calmness, evenness of temper, and emotional balance, regardless of external circumstances. This is one of the most powerful tools Buddhism offers us in our fast-paced, often chaotic world. Imagine being able to face stressful situations, whether it's a difficult conversation at work, a heated argument with a friend, or the daily grind of life, and remain calm, composed, and focused. Doesn't that sound incredible? Now, how do we achieve this level of emotional control? Buddhism teaches us that everything in life is temporary and constantly changing. Emotions, too, are fleeting. What causes suffering in our lives is our attachment to these emotions and our desire to hold onto them, for better or worse. When we can learn to let go of our attachment to these fleeting feelings, we begin to find peace. A key practice in Buddhism that helps us achieve this detachment is mindfulness meditation. By taking time each day to sit quietly and observe our thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations, we become more aware of what's going on inside us. Instead of reacting impulsively to emotions like anger or fear, mindfulness allows us to pause, reflect, and choose how we want to respond. Another powerful concept in Buddhism is the idea of the Four Noble Truths, which outline the nature of suffering and its causes, as well as the path to ending it. The second truth tells us that suffering arises from desire and attachment. When we let go of these desires, whether it's the desire for control, for approval, or for things to be a certain way, we start to experience life with a greater sense of peace. We realize that things don't need to be perfect, and we don't need to be in control of everything. Through the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, Buddhism shows us how to cultivate wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. This path leads us to a more peaceful state of mind, where we can face challenges without being overwhelmed by them. One of the most essential aspects of this path is right mindfulness, being aware of our emotions, thoughts, and actions without judgment. This awareness allows us to remain centered, even in the midst of chaos. But what makes Buddhism particularly powerful in the realm of emotional control is its emphasis on compassion. Buddhism teaches that, in order to remain calm, we must first cultivate compassion for ourselves and others. When we approach difficult situations with empathy and understanding, instead of reacting from a place of anger or frustration, we can break the cycle of negative emotions. So, whether you're experiencing stress at work, facing personal challenges, or simply trying to find a way to live with more peace, Buddhism offers a wealth of wisdom that can help. By embracing practices like mindfulness and compassion, you can train your mind to stay calm, centered, and at peace, no matter what life throws your way. The Buddha's teachings on emotions are incredibly insightful, offering us a path to not only understand our feelings but to master them in ways that can lead to lasting peace. At the heart of Buddhist philosophy is the understanding that emotions are an intrinsic part of being human. Whether it's joy, anger, sadness, fear, or excitement, emotions arise naturally and can shape our experiences. However, Buddha's teachings provide a radical shift in how we engage with these emotions. He did not say that we should suppress or ignore our feelings. Instead, he encouraged us to observe and understand them deeply. One of the most profound aspects of the Buddha's approach to emotions is his call to observe our feelings without becoming consumed by them. In the modern world, it's easy to feel like our emotions control us. Whether it's the frustration that builds up in a stressful situation, the anxiety that comes before an important event, or the anger that emerges in conflict, it's as if we are at the mercy of our emotional waves. But Buddha's teachings offer a refreshing perspective. While emotions are unavoidable, they do not have to dictate our actions. The key is mindfulness. Mindfulness, or the practice of being fully aware of our present thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without judgment, is one of the central tools in Buddhism for managing emotions. Through mindfulness, we can create a space between what we feel and how we respond to it. Imagine for a moment that you are in a heated situation. Someone says something that triggers your anger, or an unexpected challenge creates a sense of frustration. The natural human impulse is to react, often impulsively, letting the emotion control our actions. Buddha teaches us that if we can pause for just a moment, observe the emotion without acting on it, we give ourselves the opportunity to respond from a place of clarity and wisdom rather than fear or anger. This space between feeling and reaction is incredibly powerful. It allows us to respond thoughtfully, not out of fear, impulse, or anxiety, but from a grounded place of mindfulness and awareness. By cultivating this habit, we can prevent ourselves from making decisions that are driven by negative emotions, decisions that we might regret later. Instead, we act with intention, choosing responses that align with our values and bring about a positive outcome. Buddhism also emphasizes that our attachment to emotions is one of the causes of suffering. When we are attached to certain emotions such as anger, jealousy, or even happiness, we create a sense of instability within ourselves. We crave the good feelings and try to avoid the bad ones, but the Buddha taught that this attachment only leads to more suffering because emotions are inherently impermanent. They come and go like the weather. When we try to cling to them, we resist the natural flow of life, which causes inner turmoil. Understanding this impermanence is liberating because it frees us from the need to control our emotional states. We learn that, just like all experiences, our emotions will pass, and that realization brings peace. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is that we are not our emotions. Emotions are temporary experiences that come and go, but they do not define us. We are not angry or sad by nature, we are simply experiencing anger or sadness. This distinction allows us to detach from our emotions and see them for what they truly are, passing clouds in the sky of our consciousness. By practicing mindfulness, we can observe emotions without being swept away by them, allowing us to create space for a more balanced and peaceful response. Furthermore, Buddha taught that developing compassion and understanding towards ourselves and others plays a crucial role in emotional regulation. When we treat ourselves with kindness, without judgment, we are better equipped to deal with difficult emotions. We can acknowledge our feelings without criticism or shame. This self-compassion extends to others as well. By developing a compassionate mindset, we can understand that everyone has emotions, and we are all doing the best we can in any given moment. This understanding enables us to respond with empathy rather than frustration, especially in challenging situations. The Buddhist teachings also remind us of the importance of moderation in all things, including our emotions. Buddhism encourages us to avoid extremes, whether it's excessive attachment to pleasurable emotions or avoidance of unpleasant ones. By embracing a balanced approach to emotions, we are less likely to be ruled by them. Instead, we cultivate an inner peace that remains steady, even in the midst of turmoil. By practicing the Buddha's teachings, we can transform our relationship with emotions. Instead of allowing them to control us, we can take control by understanding them and responding with wisdom. The result is not suppression of emotions, but liberation from their dominance. We become the masters of our emotional landscape, able to navigate life's challenges with calmness, clarity, and compassion. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed or overcome by a strong emotion, remember the Buddha's wisdom: emotions are temporary and do not define you. With mindfulness, awareness, and compassion, you can create that crucial space between what you feel and how you act, allowing you to respond from a place of wisdom, not fear or anger. This practice will bring not only emotional peace but a profound sense of freedom, knowing that you are in control of your inner world, no matter what is happening around you. In the teachings of Buddhism, one of the most transformative practices is mindfulness, the act of being fully aware of the present moment, without distraction, judgment, or interference. At first glance, mindfulness might seem like a simple concept, but its effects are profoundly powerful. It serves as the cornerstone of emotional control and tranquility, providing us with the tools to manage our emotions with clarity and composure. Through mindfulness, we not only observe our emotions but also develop the ability to control how we respond to them, breaking free from automatic reactions and instead choosing to act with awareness and wisdom. In today's fast-paced world, we are constantly bombarded with stimuli, pressures, and emotions. It's easy to feel like we're on autopilot, reacting without truly considering our feelings or responses. This is where mindfulness comes in. Buddhism teaches us that by cultivating mindfulness, we can step back from the chaotic rush of life and become more attuned to our emotional landscape. Rather than being swept away by the tide of emotions, whether it's frustration, anger, fear, or even joy, we begin to observe these emotions from a place of detachment and understanding. Mindfulness is like becoming an observer of your own inner world. Imagine a situation where you feel anger bubbling up. Perhaps someone cuts you off in traffic, or a colleague says something that frustrates you. The natural impulse is to react immediately, to snap back in irritation or even rage. However, when we practice mindfulness, we create a small space between what we feel and how we act. Instead of allowing the emotion to dictate our response, we pause and simply notice the feeling. "I'm angry," we might say to ourselves, without judgment. This simple recognition is the first step toward emotional mastery. By acknowledging the emotion, we disarm its power over us, giving us the chance to decide how to respond thoughtfully. The power of mindfulness lies in its ability to bring awareness to the present moment. In the midst of a challenging or stressful situation, we often get caught up in a cycle of reactive emotions. We might feel overwhelmed by anger, sadness, or anxiety, and without mindfulness, we may act impulsively, saying or doing things we'll regret later. But when we practice mindfulness, we learn to pause and take a step back. We become more aware of what's happening inside us, recognizing the emotion as it arises before it has a chance to take control. This awareness helps us respond in a way that aligns with our values, rather than reacting from a place of fear, frustration, or anger. One of the most profound benefits of mindfulness is its ability to stop us from making decisions based solely on emotion. Have you ever had a moment where your emotions took over, and you reacted in a way that you later regretted? Maybe you snapped at a loved one in the heat of the moment or sent a hasty email that you wished you could take back. Mindfulness gives us the gift of reflection, allowing us to pause before we react. When we can step back and observe our emotions, we are no longer slaves to them. We gain the ability to choose a response that is measured, compassionate, and wise. In Buddhism, this process of observing without judgment is key to managing our emotions. Often, we react to our emotions by trying to suppress them or, on the other hand, by giving in to them completely. Buddhism teaches us that the goal is not to suppress our emotions but to understand them. Mindfulness allows us to notice how emotions arise within us, acknowledging their presence without attaching to them. This non-judgmental awareness helps us cultivate emotional resilience. Rather than being overwhelmed by anger or sadness, we learn to simply observe these feelings, allowing them to come and go without being carried away by them. Another powerful aspect of mindfulness is its ability to foster self-compassion. When we are mindful of our emotions, we are not only more aware of our internal state but also more compassionate toward ourselves. Instead of criticizing ourselves for feeling a certain way, we begin to accept our emotions as part of being human. This acceptance of our feelings is a cornerstone of emotional healing, as it allows us to feel without judgment and respond with care. When we can extend compassion to ourselves, we can also extend it to others. This reduces the likelihood of reacting with anger, frustration, or judgment toward others, creating more harmonious relationships and interactions. Buddhism also emphasizes that everything is impermanent, including our emotions. One of the key teachings of the Buddha is that nothing in life, including our emotions, lasts forever. Just as the weather changes from sunny to stormy and back again, our feelings shift and evolve. When we cultivate mindfulness, we gain the insight that emotions are temporary and transient. When we're angry, anxious, or fearful, mindfulness helps us realize that these feelings will pass. This understanding frees us from clinging to or resisting emotions, which can only lead to more suffering. Instead, we can let our emotions flow naturally, without the need to hold on to them or push them away. The beauty of mindfulness is that it is a practice that can be cultivated over time. It doesn't require perfection, just consistent effort. By starting with simple practices, such as paying attention to our breath, noticing the sensations in our body, or observing our thoughts without attachment, we slowly train our minds to be more present and aware. Over time, this mindfulness becomes a natural part of our daily lives, helping us to navigate our emotions with more ease, wisdom, and calmness. In conclusion, mindfulness is a simple yet incredibly powerful tool in Buddhism that helps us control our emotions and maintain peace amidst life's challenges. By practicing mindfulness, we create the space to observe our emotions without being overwhelmed by them, allowing us to choose thoughtful responses instead of reacting impulsively. This practice can transform not only how we handle difficult emotions but also how we approach life itself with greater presence, compassion, and balance. In Buddhism, one of the core teachings is the concept of suffering and how we can transcend it through mindfulness, detachment, and inner peace. The Four Noble Truths lay the groundwork for understanding this universal experience and offer a clear path to emotional control and calmness. Let's start with the first truth: life is filled with suffering. This suffering isn't just about physical pain or loss, but also the emotional turmoil that arises from our attachments to people, things, and even our emotions. We all know how it feels to be overwhelmed by a sudden rush of anger, sadness, or frustration. These emotions can cloud our judgment, take over our actions, and lead to a cycle of unending suffering. Whether it's the anxiety we feel about a future event or the regret over something in the past, these attachments to emotions are often the root cause of our mental distress. The second noble truth reveals the cause of this suffering: attachment. At the core of our suffering is the clinging to things, people, objects, desires, and, significantly, emotions. Emotions are not inherently harmful, but when we attach ourselves to them, they begin to control us. Think about it: how often do we allow our emotions to dictate our behavior, decisions, or interactions with others? We might hold on to grudges or allow negative emotions like jealousy or fear to shape our reality. This attachment to emotions causes a ripple effect, making us feel trapped in a cycle of emotional turmoil. The third noble truth offers hope: there is a way to end suffering. This doesn't mean we can eliminate emotions entirely, rather, it's about learning how to detach from them in a way that doesn't lead to their control over us. By recognizing that emotions are transient and not an intrinsic part of our identity, we can begin to release their grip. Emotions come and go, they do not define who we are. When we understand this, we gain the ability to let go of emotional attachments without losing ourselves in the process. Detachment doesn't mean becoming emotionless, it means becoming the master of our emotions, not their servant. And finally, the fourth noble truth presents the way to end suffering: the Eightfold Path. This path isn't a set of rigid rules, but a guide to developing a balanced, harmonious way of living. It's about cultivating wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. The Eightfold Path helps us understand how to live in the present moment, practice mindfulness, and avoid reacting impulsively to our emotions. It teaches us how to approach our emotions with clarity, allowing us to respond with calmness instead of being swept away by them. By following the Eightfold Path, we can develop a deep sense of inner peace and emotional control. This doesn't mean we'll never experience negative emotions again, but it does mean that we will no longer be controlled by them. We will learn to acknowledge our feelings, process them without attachment, and then move forward with a clear mind and a peaceful heart. The Four Noble Truths guide us toward this emotional liberation, showing us how to stop suffering by stopping our attachment to the emotions that cause it. In a world where emotions often rule us, Buddhism offers us the tools to reclaim our peace and maintain calmness, no matter what life throws our way. In our fast-paced world, emotions often take the lead, rushing through us like a storm that's impossible to control. Yet, the ancient wisdom of Buddhism offers a powerful remedy, one that doesn't ask us to suppress or ignore our emotions, but to understand and transform them. This transformative guide is the Eightfold Path, a set of practical principles that help us build emotional balance, clarity, and resilience in the face of life's challenges. At its core, the Eightfold Path is more than just a collection of rules, it's a philosophy for living mindfully, navigating life with awareness, and responding to emotions in a way that maintains peace and harmony within ourselves. It's a map to emotional freedom, showing us how to live fully without being overwhelmed by the emotional chaos that so often surrounds us. The first step in the Eightfold Path is right view, which encourages us to see the world with clarity and understanding. This involves recognizing the impermanence of everything, including our emotions. Emotions, no matter how intense, are fleeting, they come and go. By understanding this, we can begin to detach from the belief that our emotions define us or that we are prisoners to them. When we embrace the truth that everything is transient, we become less reactive to emotional shifts. This awareness allows us to see our emotions with greater objectivity, allowing them to arise and pass without being held onto or magnified. Next is right intention, which focuses on cultivating wholesome intentions and letting go of negative patterns like anger, hatred, and fear. It's not about trying to avoid negative feelings, but rather about setting an intention to approach life with compassion, kindness, and openness. With the right intention, we create the foundation for emotional balance, as our mindset directly influences how we experience and process our emotions. Instead of being carried away by feelings of resentment or frustration, we choose to act from a place of wisdom and understanding. Right speech is another crucial element in the Eightfold Path that directly addresses emotional control. Words have immense power. Our speech can either build bridges or tear them down. By practicing right speech, we commit to speaking mindfully, with kindness and integrity. When we express ourselves without the fuel of anger, frustration, or resentment, we prevent these emotions from escalating. This practice allows us to avoid misunderstandings and conflict, helping us stay calm and composed in even the most emotionally charged situations. Right speech encourages us to choose our words wisely, fostering harmony in both our inner and outer worlds. Right action follows suit, guiding us to act with integrity and in alignment with our values. When we act mindfully, we make decisions that nurture our emotional well-being, rather than causing further stress or turmoil. Right action encourages us to avoid harmful behaviors, such as reacting impulsively out of anger or frustration. Instead, we are invited to act from a place of compassion, promoting peace and harmony in our relationships and in the world around us. Right livelihood encourages us to choose a career or way of life that aligns with our values, where we are not contributing to harm or emotional distress in others. By living in a way that is mindful and considerate, we create an environment that fosters emotional balance and peace. When we align our work and actions with compassion, we contribute to our own well-being and the well-being of those around us. Right effort is the practice of consistently putting forth effort to cultivate positive emotions, attitudes, and behaviors. It involves being diligent in transforming negative patterns of thought and action. By practicing right effort, we develop emotional resilience, so we can meet challenges with a calm and clear mind, rather than being overwhelmed by negative emotions. It's about striving for emotional balance and making intentional choices to nurture our well-being. Right mindfulness is perhaps one of the most powerful tools for emotional regulation. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to stay present in the moment, fully aware of our thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations without judgment. This practice allows us to observe our emotions without getting swept away by them. We can acknowledge feelings of anger, sadness, or fear, and allow them to pass without reacting impulsively. Right mindfulness helps us stay grounded, maintaining emotional stability even in the midst of emotional turbulence. Finally, right concentration is the ability to focus our mind and energy in a way that cultivates deep inner peace. Through practices like meditation, we develop the ability to concentrate our thoughts, calming the mind and creating space for emotional clarity. With right concentration, we build the mental discipline to stay calm and composed in any situation, no matter how challenging or emotionally charged it may be. Together, the principles of the Eightfold Path provide a comprehensive approach to emotional balance. They guide us toward cultivating a clear, calm mind and a compassionate heart. By practicing right speech, right action, and mindfulness, we create a foundation for emotional resilience that allows us to navigate life's challenges with wisdom, patience, and grace. The Eightfold Path doesn't promise a life free of emotional struggles, but it offers us the tools to face those struggles with a sense of peace and understanding, helping us stay calm no matter what life throws our way. So, How can you take the profound wisdom of Buddhism and bring it into your life today? How can you start applying these teachings to help you maintain emotional balance and stay calm, especially when the stresses of daily life seem overwhelming? The good news is that you don't need to wait for a perfect moment or for everything to fall into place. You can begin practicing Buddhist principles right now, one small step at a time. The foundation of Buddhist practice in relation to emotional control and staying calm starts with mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't just a buzzword, it's a powerful practice that allows you to tune into the present moment, creating space between you and your emotions. Begin by taking just a few minutes each day to simply breathe. Close your eyes, focus on your breath, and become aware of the sensations in your body. Let your thoughts come and go, and observe your emotions without judgment. When you do this, you start to see that your emotions are not permanent, they are like waves that rise and fall. Mindfulness is the first step toward emotional freedom because it helps you detach from the urge to react impulsively to your emotions. Instead, you can recognize them, acknowledge them, and then let them pass. But mindfulness is just one tool in a larger toolkit. To truly integrate the teachings of Buddhism, remind yourself of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, especially when things get tough. The Four Noble Truths provide a blueprint for understanding suffering and its causes. They show you that suffering is part of life, that attachment to things, including emotions, fuels it, and that there is a way to end it. The third and fourth Noble Truths, which offer hope and a path to liberation, remind you that through detachment and following the Eightfold Path, you can rise above the chaos and find peace. The Eightfold Path, with its principles of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, and mindfulness, is your guide to living a more peaceful and emotionally balanced life. Whether you're in a stressful situation or facing an emotional challenge, remind yourself to practice right speech, to communicate with kindness and mindfulness rather than reacting out of frustration or anger. Right action encourages you to act in alignment with your values, avoiding decisions or behaviors that harm your emotional well-being. And right mindfulness, this principle is essential, as it invites you to be present with your emotions, not letting them control you but observing them with clarity. It is only through mindfulness that we can see the root of our emotional struggles and deal with them from a place of understanding, not reactivity. Consistency is key. When you begin practicing these teachings daily, the changes won't always be immediately noticeable. But over time, with patience, you'll start to see the difference. The more you practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to stay calm in the face of emotional turbulence. The more you remind yourself of the Four Noble Truths, the more you'll understand that suffering doesn't have to dominate your life. You'll develop emotional resilience, and staying calm in difficult situations will start to feel more natural and effortless. In moments of stress or anger, you'll remember the tools Buddhism offers: detachment, right action, and mindfulness. You'll begin to see how much of your suffering is self-inflicted by the way you cling to your emotions, and with that realization, you can start to let go of what doesn't serve you. Buddhism isn't just a philosophy, it's a way of life that helps us navigate the world with greater peace, clarity, and emotional control. It offers practical tools for transforming the way we relate to ourselves and others. Applying these teachings isn't about perfection, it's about progress, about being kinder to yourself and learning to respond to life's challenges with wisdom and compassion rather than fear or frustration. The road to emotional peace isn't always smooth, but with patience and dedication, you'll find that it becomes easier, more natural, and more fulfilling. In today's fast-paced, stress-filled world, we often feel like we're at the mercy of our emotions. but Buddhism offers us a way out, an invitation to pause, reflect, and find calm within ourselves. So, as you move forward, remember that each moment is an opportunity to practice mindfulness, to detach from the emotions that may seek to overwhelm you, and to follow the path to greater emotional balance and peace. I hope that today's video helps you on that journey, and that no matter what's going on around you, you find that inner calm and clarity that is always within reach.